So there we have it. Budget is blown. Welder just called me from Operation Fatty River, that John boat we're working on. He said he's got it done, knocked out for me, good to go. We got the rivets in the bottom all welded up nice and tight so it doesn't leak. And he took that road sign that a friend of mine gave me and he tacked it across the back to really firm up that transom where the previous owner had bored all kinds of giant half-inch holes in it. So we should be all buttoned up tight, ready for paint. There it is on the trailer over there. Oh yeah, that back transom looks tight. He said he spent some good time on it, so I'm betting this thing looks welded up tight, and he seemed like he knew what he was doing. Anybody named Leo that smokes a cig in there welding, you know he's got to be dialed in.
Well,
oh yeah.
Had their plan over there in Industrial Park.
Shouldn't go anywhere. Ouch. So he did a lot of work. It looks fantastic. I mean, those are gorgeous welds. We're going to look at it here in a second. In his words, it took a lot longer than he anticipated. He said that boat did not want to weld. The rivets did not want to weld. So he actually replaced all the rivets in the bottom of that boat and then tack welded them. So it wasn't just welding over the existing rivet. Still in a little bit of shock. We'll talk about price here in a minute after I convince you it was worth it. Welded handle on here, that's all brand new. And he said that thing ain't going nowhere, which is fantastic because we need that really strong to winch off of. Man can run a clean aluminum bead. I'll give him that. Yeah, that ain't going nowhere. While we got it on its back, we'll talk the bottom. He was having a hard time welding these old aluminum rivets. He said he didn't know what it was. They did not want to weld. They would just pop and explode. So he drilled out all the ribs on this boat and then put new rivets in it, then welded and capped his own new rivets. So that's a major upgrade from what I was expecting. I was just expecting them to cap what was already existing there. The damage in the hull here was not leaking from what I could tell, but he went ahead and welded a plate over that to seal that up nice and tight just to make sure. Anything he found that could potentially leak extra beyond what I had identified, he went ahead and tacked it and sealed it up tight. If you recall, I had these big holes here where somebody had JB welded coins and trash over the hole, popped those out. He capped those off with the aluminum using that road sign as well. So all 6 of these holes were capped off with these nice little aluminum plates here. He also filled in all the little holes he could find. Looks like he did some welding here. I actually had not identified that as a problem. So props to Leo. He really took his time with it to make sure this thing wasn't going to leak on me. This front pull handle, he welded it all on a nice thick plate. You can see how thick that plate is. And this only had an eye bolt before. So this is a brand new handle, welded to a thick 1/4-inch plate, and then the plate welded to the boat. That's gonna spread that load out across the whole face of that boat, not just 2 sharp points where the bolts go through this thin aluminum. This is the inside of those holes here. Like I said, they are all welded up on the outside, nice and tight. That'll get painted all over. And then on the inside, he didn't do any welding on the inside here, but paint will just cover all that up. And I think I've got a change of plans for my bench. I think the bench out of my 1032 John boat that's actually bigger with a seat pedestal on it is actually gonna fit in here. So I think I'm just gonna handle riveting that in place wherever I decide I want it. Now for the business end. He took this road sign here. He actually only needed about half of it, it looks like. He cut it to shape and welded it. Completely capped off the entire back of this boat where all those big giant holes were. So now we have a solid piece of road sign aluminum, 360 welded around the entire thing. He rebuilt out the drain plug hole here. He rebuilt it on the bottom as well, put a brand new cap, put a pipe sleeve through it, and then welded all that up tight because it was leaking at the drain hole plug too. So all the leaks on the back of this boat have been 100% resolved through the installation of the road sign and his fantastic welding. He also added on 2 more handles back here. There was only 1 on here and it was kind of cruddy and broken. He welded on 2 more handles for me, really stout and strong. So if I need to pull it from the back, I can do that as well. Then he came back in here and put the transom support caps back on over it. They are only riveted, so those are still removable in the event I ever do need to get back in here and replace this transom. You can see the thickness of this road sign here, so that alone makes this really stout. So between the road sign and then that additional 1/2-inch piece of board that I put over the existing 3/4-inch board, I think we've got a really stout transom here to support that mud motor. So is there any irony in the fact that he cut off the word wrong, and the word wrong is in the inside of this boat? Who knows? But it's done now. Disclaimer, this sign was not stolen. It was given to me by a site contractor that had permission to give it away. So the $1 million question. What did I spend on this thing? All I'm going to say is you cannot put a price on safety and memories made with family and friends, right? You can tell I'm already rehearsing this to tell my wife. But once he got into it and realized the extent of the issues with the rivets and they would not weld, he had to re-rivet all the ribs in there and then weld them. He found other areas that I had missed that were leaking. Not only did he do what I asked him to do, he did even more. And what he did do, he really made it beefy, stout, and did really clean work. How much did it cost? We talked about $200. This cost me $400. So, ouch. So to whoever mentioned that, hey, you could have just bought a new boat at that price, a newer boat, you are not wrong. Initial boat at $160, additional transom supplies at another $40, that's $200 plus welding. We're now at $600 for the whole. Could I have found a good working, functional, non-leaking boat for $600? The answer is yes. But would it have had a really stout transom like we have now? Probably not, because some of them did say they needed to have transom work. I still may have had work to do even at that price point. Definitely would not have had a front welded plate as strong as this one that allowed me to winch it. So I do think I ended up with a beefier, heavier boat at this price point, having the two business ends really stout. Both the transom to support the mud motor and the fronts to support pulling it and winching it with a lot of weight in it. So there we have it. Budget is blown. I still think we're within margin, but I was trying to do this for under $1,000 and we just tipped the scale over $1,000. But again, with some of these heavier, beefier upgrades, I'm still okay with it. So no harm, no foul. Leo did a great job, not throwing shade on him. I bought a boat that needed a lot of work and I didn't know that and I didn't do my research. So that's my fault. The next part will be coming in here, power washing all the pollen out, getting all the dirt out. I might do some light sanding just where the weld and beads on the inside are a little bit sharp. And I will be using this Duralux Dead Grass Green marine paint and coating. I've only ever used Parker duck boat paint as well as rattle can. I went with dead grass, something a little bit different. I like that brown color more than just traditional John boat green, but that'll all be covered in the next episode. So thank you for joining me for this one. Hopefully you'll join me on the next one. We'll be out here prepping it, getting ready for paint. But until then, God bless, take care.